Welcome to Really American. I am Michael Hayne. It could be said that Trumpy Dumpty lost whatever marble he had bouncing around in that horribly misshapen orange gourd of his when President Biden, decided not to seek re-election and hand over the keys to Kamala Harris. But I would say ever since that disaster of a debate that he had about, dog eating migrants and all, he has just full blown spiraling vortex of pure and utter indecipherable chaos and outrage. Now, it's safe to say that MAGA madness and insanity has certainly reached the statute of limitations for many a disaffected Republican. But it seems that the never-ending chaos, particularly with regards to North Carolina gubernatorial candidate Mark Robinson, who to me just reminds me, I don't know if anyone has ever used to watch the Boondocks, but he really reminds me of the self-loathing black guy, Uncle Ruckus from the show. Anyway, I guess he's like MAGA Republicans' noob's best black friend or whatever. However, MSNBC host Michael Steele basically laid it down, along with another commentator, discussing how not just, what gubernatorial candidate Mark Robinson is saying, but how all of the increasing MAGA madness is essentially putting two otherwise safe red states in play.
The next question is, if this doesn't hurt Donald Trump, then does it put North Carolina in play? And I bring that up because Steve has a piece in The Nation headline. Could Harris take Florida and North Carolina? The data suggests she can, with the subhead, if Harris's support among black voters continues to consolidate as it has over the past 2 months, then she stands a very strong chance of winning both states. And I want to point out, we have this, yes, the full screen there. This gets to what Maria Teresa was talking about in the last block. While much of the mainstream media has recognized that the full 2020 set of states are currently competitive, what most still don't see is that Harris's candidacy has brought back into play not just the 2020 states, but also the 2012 states. The level of excitement and energy among voters of color now make nearly all of the states won by Obama newly winnable by Democrats. Come on, Steve.
100%. 100%. Is that what we were talking about before, right? That the country is fundamentally divided. Now, fortunately, that divide is slightly larger for those who want this to be a multiracial democracy, but it's a very large minority who would prefer that this be a primarily white country. And that plays itself out in all the states across the country, all of the states won by Obama in 2008, 2012, and the country has gotten significantly more diverse since then. And that's what Maria Teresa was talking about, the numbers of new registrations, the number of people participating. The problem in places like Florida and North Carolina has been a drop in enthusiasm and a drop in turnout. The numbers have always been there population-wise, but we haven't had the participation that Obama had that enabled him to win. The enthusiasm behind Harris is bringing that entire coalition into play, and that coalition is bigger now than it was in 2012.
And one other thing you point
more enthusiasm than Obama? You're in some real deep shit there, Trumpy Dumpty. But really, though, matching the enthusiasm of 2008, well, maybe it's more than just North Carolina. What do you think, Michael Steele?
argument.
I agree with Steve's argument. In fact, when Joe Biden handed this opportunity to the vice president, when the shift occurred, I was on our air saying that at the end of the day, this election for the Democrats could be bigger than Obama. That what Kamala Harris had the potential to do then, which is now being borne out and certainly reflected in what Steve just said, is she could create a different coalition, one that was more than just a combination of Obama and Biden, meaning 08 and 20, but even adding in new elements, because what has happened transformationally in terms of issues is Dobbs. Abortion is now in play. What that does is it draws in center-right voters who would otherwise be aligned with the Republican Party now falling away because of the heavy-handed nature in which Republicans want to control women's bodies and take away their rights. And that does not sit well either. So this coalition that's being created right now by Kamala Harris and Tim Walz is not just one to watch, but it's going to be one that the history books will study when I think she takes this thing to victory. Florida and North Carolina will fall, along with Georgia. So there you are.
Oh.
I mean, when you hear Florida and Kamala Harris taking it, it sounds what is the word? Too good to be too fucking true. But it actually is a reality, and that is a reflection of just the descent, the pure and utter dark descent that the Republican Party has gone down into, where they can't even, safely, confidently take out states like Florida and Georgia, which Michael Steele also mentioned, which, of course, Joe Biden won. But when it comes to taking Florida, Michael Steele pointed out reproductive freedom, those rights. Well, let's look into that a little bit further.
Bus trolling of former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate Tuesday. 24 hours later, the Harris-Walz surrogates hitting Jacksonville. Their message: Trump poses a danger to abortion access, specifically hitting him for saying he'd vote against Amendment 4. If passed, it would repeal the current 6-week ban and take Florida to viability, about 24 weeks with health exceptions.
I think it's going to hurt him because I think overwhelmingly the people of Florida, not just Democrats, but Democrats, independents, and Republicans, are going to vote in support of Amendment 4 and reproductive health.
DNC Chair Jamie Harrison there thinks the issue is a tipping point for Democrats to win up and down the Florida ballot.
If you look at our rallies, if you look at events, look at the number of volunteers that we have just signed up in the last few weeks. 40,000 new volunteers here in the state of Florida. Energy, momentum, hope, joy, all of that's on our side. We now just got to turn them out.
Pundits say there's only a slim chance Florida is in play this cycle, polling out.
Oh, man, the Harris reproductive freedom bus rolling around outside Mar-a-Lago. That is next level trolling. Kudos. But there you have it. You see, you far right nut jobs, if you didn't have to be such assholes and constantly messing with reproductive health, constantly having to get involved with women's individual liberty, having big government step into the uterus, you probably wouldn't be experiencing these issues. But once again, shooting yourselves in the foot. Always shooting yourselves in the foot. Let's hope this does come to pass. I am Michael Hayne. This is Really American. Please subscribe to our channel and check me out on TikTok at Mike Hayne Comedian.